Let's say China.
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 China. China.
There are no storm neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump's statement, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if your name is Keith, Mick, or Sebastian. It's Monday, the 14th of August 2017, and just one Monday, I would like to come to work and say, wow, what an uneventful weekend. Here is some lovely royalty-free music for you to enjoy. But that's not today. And I think I speak for everybody listening to the show right now when I say, what the fuck happened over the last 2 days? I woke up on Saturday morning, grabbed my phone, as I do, scrolled through the Twitter and some news articles, and thought I'd woken up in 1950. And right there, while I was looking at these Ku Klux Klan and white supremacist rallies going on in Charlottesville, Virginia, the thought crossed my mind, my God, this could get really bad. And as we know, it did. And in years gone by, when the nation was facing a time of terrible trouble like we saw on Saturday, people look to the president for guidance, reassurance, and Donald Trump made a statement on Saturday, and we're going to have a little listen to it, and then we'll discuss the ramifications of the statement.
But we're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia. We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides. It's been going on for a long time in our country. Not Donald Trump, not Barack Obama. This has been going on for a long, long time.
So, the president got it half right in that statement, I would say. He condemned the acts of hatred and bigotry. But then he couldn't help himself but throw in the on both sides comment. And for a man who, whenever the Democrats would talk about terrorism, rebuked them, saying, why don't you call it what it is, radical Islamic terrorism? Well, Donald Trump, this was white supremacist terrorism. And all people wanted from you was to hear you say that, to call it what it is. What you did, Mr. President, was look at a dog and then say, yes, it's a small, furry creature on 4 legs with a tail which appears to be gyrating vigorously in a back and forward motion. And the problem is, with not calling it what it is, which is domestic terrorism, it opened the doors for many of these hate groups to come forward and say, thank you, Mr. President, you didn't condemn us. You want proof of that? You just have to look at a statement made by Andrew Anglin, who is the editor of the Daily Stormer, which is a neo-Nazi website. And he said, and I quote, Trump comments were good. He didn't attack us. When asked to condemn, he just walked out of the room. Really, really good. God bless him. And that's the problem. When you don't name these people for what they are, which is terrorists, then they get away with it and they feel like they got away with it. And then they're emboldened to put statements like that on their website, saying, God bless you, Mr. President, you didn't condemn us and everybody thought you would. But not everybody was as vague as Donald Trump. The National Security Advisor, General McMaster's, said this of the Charlottesville attacks.
I think what terrorism is the use of violence to incite terror and fear. And of course it was terrorism.
And also, calling out what it was the governor of Virginia.
And I have a message to all the white supremacists and the Nazis who came into Charlottesville today. Our message is plain and simple. Go home. You are not wanted in this great Commonwealth. Shame on you. You pretend that you're patriots, but you are anything but a patriot. You want to talk about patriots, talk about Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, who brought our country together. You think about the patriots today, the young men and women who are wearing the cloth of our country. Somewhere around the globe, they are putting their life in danger. They're patriots. You are not.
So, condemnation for the white supremacists came in strong. And the backlash to President Trump yesterday and this morning for him not calling them out for who they were, but saying, many sides were to blame for this, was huge. So huge, in fact, that in a rare moment, Donald Trump bowed to public pressure and named the people this afternoon in Washington, D.C.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal.
So, the president did in fact bow to public pressure and denounce the white supremacists and the Ku Klux Klan and the neo-Nazis. Now, the speech that he gave there was spoilt just a little bit because, well, this is how it began.
I'm in Washington today to meet with my economic team about trade policy and major tax cuts and reform. We are renegotiating trade deals and making them good for the American worker, and it's about time. Our economy is now strong. The stock market continues to hit record highs. Unemployment is at a 16-year low, and businesses are more optimistic than ever before.
Oh, and the Ku Klux Klan's bad, as are neo-Nazis and other racist hate groups, evil people. But on the plus side, the economy's doing really well, so silver lining in every cloud, right, folks? Silver lining in every cloud. So the president there said what everybody has wanted him to say. The problem is, he said what everybody has wanted him to say. So you sort of get the feeling that this didn't come from the heart at all. This came from the fact that every single person was denouncing him for not saying it in the first place right after it happened on Saturday. It took him 3 days to do it, and so while it's wonderful that he said it and acknowledged that it was white supremacists and neo-Nazis and domestic terrorists that did this, the fact that it took him 3 days and huge amounts of public and political pressure somewhat suggests that he just had to say it. It was, you have to say that. And it's caused a lot of people to say, and I've seen this on Twitter a lot today, that Donald Trump is a white supremacist, he's a Klan member, he's a Nazi, etc., etc. And do I think Donald Trump is a white supremacist Nazi? No. What I think Donald Trump is a man with sociopathic and narcissistic tendencies. He is unable to empathize with anybody because in his mind, empathy is a sign of weakness, which is something he cannot allow to project. And we've seen this many times whenever there's been sort of a national catastrophe, whether it's weather-related or other. Donald Trump is very slow to respond to that, and when he does, it's always rather tepid and sort of, it's very sad, it's too bad. So is the President of the United States a white supremacist? I don't think so. I think he is just unable to give a shit about anybody but himself. And does that make a good leader? Well, the proof, as they say, is in the pudding on that one, and I'll let you be the decider. So, whether or not Donald Trump is a racist or not is in some ways immaterial, because what he has done is he has provided these people, these white supremacists, these neo-Nazis, with not just a platform, but also, in some ways, permission to do what they are doing. When he doesn't condemn them right off the bat, that gives them power. Massive amounts of power, and that is what they need, because they really don't have any. They're a pathetic group of people who, arguably shouldn't be on this planet. And many people have said that Donald Trump gives voice to these white supremacists, these hate groups, by, well, A, not responding to them, and B, his very harsh tone that he uses in many ways. He's incited violence at his rallies during the run-up to the election. You'll remember those times when he said, "Oh, kick him out, yeah, punch him in the head," just recently with the police. "Oh, you're too gentle on them, don't cover their head when you put them in there, what's a concussion?" So all these things have added up to give these hate groups a newfound position, I suppose, in American society. But then we run into one other problem, and that is quite a big problem. It's called the First Amendment. And as we know, the First Amendment guarantees freedom of speech and freedom of expression to every American. And this is where it gets tricky for me personally, because I think these groups, these white supremacists, these neo-Nazis, just should be wiped off the face of the earth. I think there is no place for them at all. But in America, they have the right to express their views, no matter how abhorrent we find them. That right is guaranteed to them. And we can't start taking rights away from one group of people and not the other, because it's a very slippery slope. And I wanted to read the First Amendment to you, and somebody's here who would like to help read it. And, well, you know who it is. It's Trump Vader. He would like to read the First Amendment to you. So, Trump Vader, come on in, mate. Yep, it's your... Yeah, knock the drink back. Okay, good man. All right, come on in. It's time to read... Yes, it's time to read the First Amendment. All right, brilliant. Brilliant, here you are. All right. So here he is. Trump Vader, how are you? You're okay. It's been a rough weekend, hasn't it? Oh, I know. Yeah, terrible. Anyway, you want to read the First Amendment for everybody. Okay, so here's Trump Vader reading the First Amendment.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of
Trump Vader, what just happened? You didn't finish it. What? Hang on. What? It's what? Oh, you hit 140 characters. So you can't read any more. No, you can't. Okay, so apparently Trump Vader hit 140 characters there, so I'll finish it for you. I'll back up a little bit. He was saying there, abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So, Trump Vader, where are you going? You're off. Alright, well, I'll see you later. You don't want a round of applause? Oh, you got a tea time. Alright, mate, we'll see you later. Alright, bye-bye. Okay, so there's Trump Vader gone. Now, there's the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of speech. But there is one part in that amendment that I want to just spend a second looking at. And that is the right of the people to peaceably assemble. And as we know, Saturday's event was not peaceable. 3 people were killed and many more injured. So, this is where it gets really difficult, and I'm not a legal constitutional scholar, so I don't know. But where does the rights of the First Amendment end? I like to think they end when violence happens. So what happened on Saturday is not covered by the First Amendment because those fuckheads, yes, fuckheads, they broke their First Amendment by causing violence. And that is the end of the show. Thank you very much for chatting, and tomorrow, hopefully, we'll move on to greener pastures. Remember, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at SoThisHappen, and you can always download, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or many other places. And it's Monday, so I have to do it. If you feel like you want to support So This Happened, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/SoThisHappenedShow, and there you can pledge to make a monthly donation to us. And just know, it will go to good use. I will start buying a better brand of scotch. Thank you. Good night.